Hello, my name is Ryan Shipwash, and we will be discussing the custom mechanics that I have implemented into my level for the Desolate Dungeon block mesh. First off, we'll start with the collectibles. All the collectibles are set up similar in the BP, which we will open up the first one, which would be the BP book. So right here we have the book that is surrounded by a sphere collision. It has a point light on it so it has a affordance for it, so that it lets the player know to pick it up or to get to see it. Then we have a text rendered above it, which is hidden, but it says press E to collect. And we'll start going over the nodes. Right here, it says allow interaction with objects. So when the player steps into the overlapping of the sphere, it casts to the first person, which then enables the input for the player to interact with the interact key. And then it comes into the visibility part of it, and it shows the text of pressing E to collect. When the player leaves the sphere, it disables input and it removes the visibility of it. It goes into this function right here of start. Basically, we're starting an event right here, and it rotates the text for the interact to face the player. So whenever the player is within the sphere, it will automatically face the player, so that you can always see that it says to press E to collect. Then we come into the gate, which allows us to open and close the gate of it. Then it passes into the sound, which allows you to have a feedback to pick it up. And then it comes into our data collection. All the collectibles have their own scoring system. This one has a book. There is a scroll score. There is a treasure score, and it adds 1 point to the first person character, and then it destroys the actor so that it's not there anymore. So next we will go to the lever that I created. This is to open the doors. It's a simple couple static meshes with a text render that allows it, say, to press E to interact, and a box trigger for when the player overlaps it. It's set up similar to this. When the player overlaps it, it sets the visibility of the collection, not the collection, but the interact key. And then it gets passed into to get all actors for the door. This allows us to call the door and get a door value for it. Creating the array right here and getting the door value, we're able to set the lever and the door to a certain index number, so we can sync multiple levers or doors to one variable. It comes into a branch, and then it turns into a flip-flop right here that opens the door or closes the door. Once it passes into the open door, it will trigger the data collection. When the door is open, it'll add a point to how many doors are open, and then if you close the door, it'll subtract that point. And then it comes into the animation part of the lever, which raises it up and down if it's open or closed. We will go to the doors real quick. It's set up on custom events of open and closing the door. Plays the sound of opening or closing, turns into a timeline which sets the relative location for that area. Right here we have a instance editable door value, so we could set the index of that number of the door. So we will close these. We will look at the key now. This is the only collectible that has something different on it, which is it sets the first person character blueprint to say that it picked up a key. This allows the player to interact with the indoor to finish the level, which is the main objective. We'll open the double doors open. It's set up similar to the other door, where it sets the visibility of the text, comes into the data collection area right here, and then it will come into the animation of the doors. Once it gets down here, it'll come into it'll create a widget which adds to the viewport, and it shows the ending level. and then it allows you to set the cursor to be true, so you can use the cursor on the menu. So we'll go back. We'll go to the pressure pad. This is a simple begin and end overlap. We have a couple variables. Is being pressed, which we are calling right here, the call pressed or released. It triggers the animation right here for the trigger to go up and down. We'll look at the drawbridge that it controls. We'll start over here. We're binding the event to the pressed or released, which is the function, and then we have two pressure pads that we can set up with it, so we can have it in two different locations. Then we have a custom events for pressed or release. If it's pressed, it will extend the drawbridges to its location, and once you step off of it, it will retract back in. We have multiple variables to be able to set the drawbridge to have multiple starting and ending positions if we need be, so you can customize it however we need to. Next, we will go over the widgets that I have. We'll go over the in-store game one. This one has the main objectives and the optional. It tells the player how many doors they open, how many scrolls, books, treasures collected, and it tells you how many are in the level itself. We also have the key, which is set up on those data points pulling from the first-person character. The replay starts the level over at the very beginning, and then the quit game is to quit the game. Next, we have the main menu. It has a play button, controls button, and quit button. If you click controls, it'll hide the buttons and overlay the controls screen, which allows the player to be able to dictate where and how to use their controls. You click return and it'll go back to the main menu. Game paused, we have resume, restart, and quit game, so that you have control over that. Then in the first person BP, we created some variables right here. We created the door, scroll, key score, and treasure and book score, so that we can document and pull data for the splash screen and track the data. We also implemented the pause button. This allows us to be able to pause the menu and show the mouse if we have it paused, and if it's not paused, we remove the mouse right here, and then we set the input to game mode only. We also have the boolean in here of has key. This tells the player if it has the key or not, and being able to interact with the door at the very end. Okay, we'll go back here, and overall, that is the gist of the mechanics. We have a few static meshes in here that are BPs. They're point lights on the static meshes. And that's pretty much it. Thank you.